What's up? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have another guest on today. As always, we had such a fun conversation. I have Bree on the show today, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about her before we get into the conversation. She is a professional elopement photographer turned business alignment and six-figure freedom coach on a mission to help women wake up to what's possible because life's too short to spend it stuck in jobs we hate or building businesses that drain us. After walking away from the safe path and experiencing a major wake-up call, she's created a life rooted in purpose, passion, and freedom. Bree now helps women align with their soul's blueprint, scale businesses they love, and rewrite the rules around success. I thought it was so cool that her and I had the chance to chat today. Our paths are kind of similar. Her story is very different than mine, but we are similar in the fact that we both left the safe path and honestly are doing kind of similar things in our own business, which I think is really cool. So I think you will really enjoy this episode listening to her story and hearing about the offerings she has, which is really cool. She actually did one of her soul contract readings for me, and it was so awesome and so accurate. So let me know what you think, and here is our conversation. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited for another guest today and another Midwest girly too, you guys. We have Bree on today. She is the host of Rebel CEO podcast, which is so cool. I've listened to several of her episodes and I'm so excited for her to come on here and share her story. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to connect with you and to actually talk face to face because we've been voice messaging for a while, but now we get to see each other while we're talking.
I know, that's just it's so much fun. I love, I'm a huge voice notes girly because you get to, communicate with people that way. And I think it's better than messaging and stuff. But then, when we get on these Zoom calls or Riverside or whatever video, it's always just an extra level. And it's like we're hanging out in the same room, but we're not.
Yeah, totally.
So we're going to start today. Tell us where you're located at, and then your sun, moon, and rising, and your human design type.
Yeah, so I'm located on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border, but I'm on the Wisconsin side. But the reason I tie in the border is because I'm actually really close to the Twin Cities. 30 minutes from Minneapolis, 15 from St. Paul, 30 from Minneapolis, if you know where that is at all. I feel like if you're Midwest, you've probably heard of the two. And for anybody international, you probably don't know anything besides Minnesota, so that's okay. And then sun, moon, and rising sign. So I am a Virgo sun and a Sagittarius moon, and then a Cancer rising. And did you say the human design yet? Or is that later?
Human design type, yeah.
Okay, cool. So human design type, I am a 5/2 emotional generator.
Yes, ma'am. I did her energetic blueprint, so I also have her stuff over here that I'm your Virgo sun comes in so strong, just the little short of time I've known you. I love how organized you are, and I always thought of myself as a very organized person, but I feel like you just really excel at that, and that's a great thing. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about you and how you got here and kind of your backstory with your businesses and how it shifted, because you did a big shift in your businesses. And I want you to tell everyone where you started from. Anything you find pertinent, you can make it as long as short as you want, as much detail as you want, but kind of where you came from and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, okay. So I feel like starting, it's kind of like back when I lived in Portland, I worked in an office. So I was in school for accounting. I hadn't quite finished my degree, and I got this accounting job. I was so proud of myself because I had my first cubicle. I literally made a post and I was like, I have my first cubicle. And I thought that I was making it, doing big things, coming from a family who I would be the first college grad in my immediate family. I just was so proud of myself. And then a couple of years in, I woke up one day and I was like, okay, I'm waking up, going to work. working all day, working overtime, and then going to the gym and then going home and going to sleep. And then on the weekends, I was bartending. So it was like I was in this weird mix where I'm like literally living to work, to pay the bills, to pay my tuition, going to school sometimes when I decided to take classes, and just not actually living life. Like it just was this cycle of like doing things just to do things and not actually doing anything that lit me up. So I kind of spontaneously and like not in the most professional way decided to leave that job. And it was just like all of a sudden I saw it and I had this like moment where I was like, I'm out. Like I need to do something else. So then I committed to leaving, moving back to Wisconsin, which is where I'm from originally, and starting a photography business. And that was because I just quit the job that my degree was supposed to be in, and I wasn't trying to like go find another accounting job that put me in the same position. And then I could build something that was based on something that I already knew that I loved. So I just wanted to like follow my heart and be like, okay, we'll see what happens. But I had no interest in actually like running a business or doing anything of the sort, really. But like I knew that accounting wasn't the way for me anymore. So I kind of took a leap of faith, moved home, and I ended up building a six-figure photography business that I absolutely loved. So I specialized in elopement photography. And then I worked really hard, worked myself to the point of burnout. And eventually I just like, I don't know, I was in this editing cave and I couldn't do anything besides like work and keep up on what I was doing, but I wasn't actually like scaling my business or getting further. I was just kind of doing the busy work. Can you
Mhm.
resonate with that at all?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I feel like a lot of people who build their own businesses can. It's kind of like a rite of passage, but it really shouldn't be. So I was in this place of like hustle 24/7. And amidst the hustle, I actually lost my sister. So she was killed by her ex-boyfriend. So if you can imagine, I'm like in mid-wedding season and it's like this horrible tragedy happens. And then it's like, well, what do I do? Because as a wedding photographer, you're booking these jobs that cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and a lot of them happen in a certain season depending on where you live. So I was like, I can either like refund my couples, I can find somebody to shoot, which is still thousands of dollars, or I can just do it myself still. So I took the path, and this is a path that not many people would take, of keeping all of my work and still like going and shooting. So I shot a wedding 2 days after my sister died. And I shot another wedding 2 days after her funeral, which is just like insane. But that just kind of shows like the point of hustle I was at. And through losing my sister, this is kind of like a roundabout way, but through losing her, I feel like that really pushed me into the spiritual zone, which is how I got to where I am today. So she was very spiritual. And when we lost her, she started showing us signs like right away, like literally right away, that she was still there. And it was just kind of like insane to like start seeing the proof of more happening behind the scenes than we kind of like think of, because I was very much in the 3D world before this. And that shifted my priorities from one of building my photography business and like shooting weddings, which I really loved, to kind of teaching people what I know about the spiritual realm, but also tying it into business, which I very much do still love. So that was the pivot from photography to podcasting and business coaching. Does that kind of help answer your question?
Oh my gosh, no. I had no idea about your sister, and I am so sorry to hear that. I can't imagine what you were going through, and obviously you're like mentally you were just like still on that grind. But it's so beautiful that you started to wake up to like what's around you. What were some of like your favorite signs that your sister sent?
Yeah, so I actually still get quite a few signs. So that was in 2019. So it was 5.5 years ago. And so I said I shot a wedding 2 days after she died, right? So her, okay, actually, I'm going to back up. So she left a letter, but it wasn't a suicide letter. It was like, if anything happens to me, this is what I want for my funeral. And my mom like saved it in a file folder. And she did one too. They just must have been having like a funeral conversation, and they like sat down and were like, okay, if anything happens, like this is what I want, just while they were talking about it. And her letter said, don't spend money on a funeral. Make sure you put my ashes in a tree and like don't spend any money on it. but I do want these songs. So then she had her 3 songs. So one of them was the ukulele version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So I was shooting that first wedding, and I had like an associate with me the whole day because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like do it or if I'm going to need to step out or what. Like, my thing was that if nobody there knew what happened, then I could just like get through it.
Mhm.
But it was like I didn't want people talking to me about it or asking me about it. So come, it's like the whole day I did great. I stepped out at like one point briefly and then came back. But then the dance portion, in the US we do family dances a lot, so like mother son dances, father daughter dances, and instead the couple decided to do a combined family dance, and the song for that was the ukulele version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I hadn't heard it at that
Like,
point, but yeah, I hadn't heard it at that point. It was just like in my mind that she wrote it down, and I was like, wait, is this the ukulele version? And like at that point, I just obviously start like bawling. But that was
yeah.
the last thing I had to do, thankfully, before I left. But for a long time, every wedding I shot, I would hear one of her funeral songs, or every time I traveled, I would hear it. So like I just got back from Bali, I heard one of her songs on the way back. So songs are my favorite. We've also had like just some cool things that people came up to us and said. So if you want, I can get into one of them, but otherwise,
Yeah, no, that is beautiful. I love songs too. I think when I started myself like on my spiritual journey and like was opening up more, and it's like we miss so much when we are like in that hustle, like 3D reality. And then when you start to kind of like take a step back and be more in the present, like you hear those things, or you'll hear it like in your car or randomly if you're in like a store or something and you're like, oh my gosh. And it's just like a beautiful piece of life that I think more people need to get to that point where they're noticing those things. You definitely have gotten there after what happened and shifted. So I want to talk about like when you shifted from photography to what you're doing now. Did you like kind of keep some photography clients? Like, are you still doing photography now? Or yeah, is it a
yeah.
mixture of both right now?
Yep, right now it's a mixture of both. So, for photography, when you're booking weddings, you book so far in advance. So, like right now, we're all booking 2026 weddings. So, I'm kind of trying for next year to cut back. So, this year I cut back on what I was taking some, but that's still the majority of my income. So, next year I'm trying to cut back even further and just come to a place of like trust that the income on the other side will be there and will be fully functioning by the time I hit that point, because it's really hard when you're like, oh, do you want to book this wedding for $10,000 in September of next year? And you're like, ooh, like, do I? Because you get the cash influx now. I still think that I'm very lucky to be shooting weddings, but I do know that I have an expiration date on it. So yeah, I think that next year I'll probably end up taking like 5 weddings and then close my calendar. And then the year after, I'm just not booking at all.
I love that for you because what you are doing now when it comes to like a spirituality perspective, like soul contracts and things like that, it is so powerful. And I want you to kind of talk about that. Like, how did you stumble upon that? Like, how do you go from photography and you're like, okay, I'm getting more spiritual, but like, yeah, I want to know like how you found that and like what interests you the most about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually ties back into what I said about my sister, which is why, like, it feels weird talking about it, but it's a very big part of my business journey. So she passed away. She started me on the whole, like, spiritual kick in general. And then when she passed away, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, I think she had a soul contract. Like, I think it was her time for whatever reason. Like, even if it feels like she was really young, like it genuinely feels like it was her time to go, and she probably had a soul contract for this to happen. Maybe it was meant to like wake you up or like activate you in some way. So those were some of the things that I heard, which was, I want to say, probably one of my first times hearing about soul contracts. And then later down the road, so like I didn't do anything with soul contracts for 4 years, maybe 4.5, because I feel like I haven't been doing it for that long yet. So then maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I got an astrology reading. And the girl pulled up my chart and she's like, okay, I can guess what you do for work, or you can tell me. It's up to you. And I was like, well, obviously, I want you to guess. Yeah, please guess. So she goes, okay, well, you're probably in some type of like artistic field, maybe photography. And I was like, all right, well, either you researched me and found that I do photography,
Yeah.
or you're like spot on, which I mean, my photography does match my midheaven, which is I think what she was going off of. And then I don't know what other placements she was going off of, but she was spot on. So then that was like, okay, weird. Like there are ties to astrology that are like pretty prominent. And then later on in the call, she asked about, I don't remember, like siblings or something, and I told her that story. And then she was like, okay, actually, if I look at this really literally, like with astrology, you can't necessarily like tell the future. But if I look at this really literally, I think it was like my Mars was, wait, hold on. My Mars was in, no. Yeah, okay. I think it was my Mars was in Taurus, but I might be messing that up. So I'm sorry if anybody's like, that doesn't make sense. In a certain house that had to do with death or
Oh,
siblings. I don't
probably
remember.
like, oh, okay. So it'd have probably been like your eighth house or your like, I think your siblings are like your fourth or fifth house or something. It would have probably been on that side of your chart somewhere.
Yeah. So she said, if I look at this knowing what I know now, really literally, then I can, like, if you take it for what it's worth, it kind of shows because I want to say Mars is known for like aggression.
Hmm.
And it was in a house of siblings or death, I don't remember what, in a sign that also can be known for aggression, Taurus. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
or
don't,
maybe even like Aries, because Aries
oh
are
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
like fiery and
You
like,
have my birth chart up.
yeah, girl.
Oh, okay, well, look at it. Okay, look at that.
Well, I guess, yeah, let's see. Okay. I'm like,
I want to say it's Mars for sure. So where's my Mars? I'm gonna change the light
oh,
on.
it's in Taurus. You were right. Yeah, yeah. It's in Taurus. Your Mars is in Taurus. So,
Okay.
and then, yeah, in there, I'm just looking like, well, and like I was saying, I think the fifth, I swear the fifth house is siblings. I don't remember off the top of my head. But like your fifth house kind of is like your Pluto and Scorpios in that too. So that's like some death and transformation energy
Mhm.
there. Cause like your Taurus is more like your,
And then the 11th house, I always look these up when I do soul contracts. I don't have them all memorized. The 11th house is because 12th house is death, right?
spirituality. Yeah,
Spirituality,
spirituality and
death.
like
Yeah.
things like that. And then like your 11th is like the collective, like humanity and things like that, which makes sense for you.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't remember exactly like what it was that she tied. I feel like it was Mars, but she said like something about if you look at this really literally, like it could say that you lost your sister in a violent way, like that there was death to a sibling in a violent way. So whatever it was she was looking at, tied those together. So then that made me start thinking about like, okay, if she can see what I'm doing for work and if she can see this like huge thing that happened in my life. And also, when we were talking about work, I told her that I was planning to pivot into education and digital programs and the podcast. And she said, oh, well, that's the only thing better that I could imagine for you. I think because my North Node is in Aquarius, which has
Yes.
technology in the collective. So when she said that, I was like, wait, it wasn't a right away thing, but like reflecting on it, I was like, this is kind of like a blueprint because for me, photography did feel very aligned, but I'm switching gears because there's something that now feels even more aligned. So it's like just kind of got my wheels turning. And then I'd obviously heard of the spiritual concept of soul contracts. And then
Hmm.
I started looking into like numerology, and my friend got really into human design. And I was like, wait. So, like, all of these different systems have pieces that tie together to like show different portions of somebody's personality, their life, their experiences, whatever it is. But what if it's literally like a blueprint that we have right in front of us and we're using, but we're not actually like layering them and fully looking at them for what they are. So, like, what if our soul contract in some respect is like right in front of us and none of us are realizing it?
Boom. Like, I love that you say that because, like, you and me, like, when we first started talking about what both of us do and what our interests are, like, that was a big thing, like, in my journey too, is the, like, oh my gosh, there's like all these pieces. And I do want to share, I want you to dive more into like what you do for the soul contracts, but I did want to share since I have the blueprint I made for you up. I haven't actually sent it yet to her, but like your life path number is 1, which is like pioneering progress. So that's like the new, I have like one little snippet of numerology and then like most of my chart I really love. I love the astrology. And when you were saying what she was saying, so I have different things too. Like I have your north node is in Aquarius and it's in your 8th house. So looking at that, like your most like authentic life is meant to embody deep healing work, transformation, depth, and feeling. And I also, 2 other areas I thought that were very like spot on, which you had mentioned too. I love talking about money as well. And for you, your second house sign is in Leo. So pursuing creative work that you're passionate about, you can easily earn money through social media, communication, marketing, advertising, and writing,
Yeah,
which are
love
things that you're doing. And I
it.
know I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought was so cool about your chart too is so your that Cancer rising energy. I don't know if you've heard much about, I feel like a lot of people, and maybe this is just what I'm seeing because it's coming up for me, but people talking about how your ascendant or rising sign is so like powerful for you to really embody that energy because it is like the energy of your chart and like an essence, like a big essence of you. And with the moon, it's just like so much like intuition and like emotional and like depth with it, which I think just like screams like with your what you're doing now
Mhm.
and is
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah. So actually, it's really funny with my Cancer rising. So I very much identify with my Virgo sun, my Sagittarius moon, and they're like opposites. So not technically opposites, but pretty opposite. So I feel like I very much identify with both, even though they're different. My Cancer rising, I do know that I like fit to a certain extent because I definitely get nervous like going into big groups and I'll like kind of act like a crab, like shoulders
Mhm.
up, hide in my shell. But I know that Cancer is known for like mothering, nurturing energy. And
Yep.
what I say about soul contracts is that I think they're the blueprint for like your highest self. So if you don't relate to something, there are a couple of other reasons too. But if you don't relate to something, one reason might be because you're out of misalignment with your higher self. And that is an area that I don't fully relate to. And I know, like, I've already pinpointed and been like, it's because I'm not fully in alignment there. Okay, so if I were to be really honest with myself and start to try to align more in that area, I feel like I would be more nurturing to in like certain areas of my life. But I think that right now it's just like not something that I place as a huge priority because I have been in these phases of like building businesses or whatever else was going on. So it's an area that's like on my radar that I think would be good, but not
Mhm.
something that like I in the current moment overly identify with.
Do you know what's also interesting? I don't know if you know this, but your Chiron, which is like an asteroid placement, is also in Cancer.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I
So
did
there
know
might
that.
just be, yeah, that's like your, like your biggest wound in this
Mhm.
lifetime, that you're meant to heal. So I find that interesting too.
Yeah, yeah, actually, that's something that the astrologist also talked with me about related to like a relationship with another person. And it was just like kind of connecting dots after a while with like, okay, we have soul contracts with ourselves, but we also have them with other souls. So to see like the correlation between my chart and like placements that possibly signified relationships or things happening with like other people is like, okay, that's wild.
It's so cool. I love it so much. Okay, I want you to explain. Okay, if somebody has not heard soul contract before, or maybe they've just heard a little bit about it, like how would you explain that to someone?
Yeah, so the spiritual version of a soul contract is kind of like I touched on earlier that I was hearing about a lot however many years ago. But the spiritual version is like you choose your birth time, you choose your name, you choose like everything or these key pieces of things that are going to happen in your lifetime. And with that, you're like choosing these things so that one, your soul can evolve, so that you can accomplish maybe whatever you're meant to accomplish in this life. So I think each soul is chosen to come down here for a reason. And sometimes we put this big weight on like our soul purpose, but it's not necessarily like as big and lofty as everyone makes it seem. It's like nothing's ever that serious. So like if you come down here and you maybe don't accomplish your soul purpose or whatever you said you were going to accomplish to help the collective or to help yourself grow, then you learn from it and you get to come try and do it again.
That's a good way to look at it too. I think a lot of people, are like, oh my gosh, like, what am I here to do? And I think, like, for me, I think your purpose, I mean, your purpose overarching is like to live and learn and to experience human life.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like along the way, it just kind of changes. Like for your story, like photography and then evolving into more of soul contracts. And what exactly are you like? What are the main things you're looking for in soul contracts? And I guess, how are you are you channeling the information? Are you using the natal birth chart in astrology? Or, yeah, like elaborate on that stuff too.
Yeah, so my version of soul contracts is a very tangible version, which kind of goes with my Virgo sun. So I use astrology, numerology, and human design, all kind of like the layers of an onion to build a soul contract. So instead of just giving you your like life purpose placement from astrology, I layer all of them together to give you a really well-rounded view and like multifaceted view of your life purpose. And I agree with you that you have different life purposes throughout like different periods of your life. But I feel like this is kind of like your overarching life purpose, or like what you're working towards, like your big one. So yeah, I layer all of them together. I do different sections. So like I'll tell you soul identity. My favorite section is obviously the life purpose section. I feel like that's what like most people want to know. They're really curious about that. And I think that if you know your purpose and like the path that you're meant to take and then you build that into your business, then if you're literally like, I'm coming down here and I'm accomplishing what I said that I was going to accomplish when I came down, and you're building that into your business and impacting people and like actually following through on it, I feel like you can't help but see success in that area when you are like totally in alignment. So obviously with divine timing, but in general I feel like you like it's got to help you. So my favorite parts are the life purpose and then the wounds. So like you touched on Chiron.
Mm-hmm.
So the wounds I feel like can be really beneficial to know. And then also your business blueprint. So I do a whole section that's just like related to business, and it can give you like a little bit of info on what you should do for marketing or like your branding or anything like that.
Oh, so many questions I want to ask you now. Uh, it's so interesting. I I love your take on it. When I've got a couple questions I want to ask, but when you're talking about like wounds and stuff, what are other placements you look at?
Yeah, so Chiron obviously is one. Then hold on, I know it, but I'm like trying to think of what's in the chart because I have it all like mapped out. Numerology, that's what it is. Your karmas. So
Okay,
like
okay.
you'll have karmic lessons and karmic debt. So I use all of those.
Yes. Is that using your birthday or your name in numerology?
Numerology, your karmas. I use a karma generator. So I like go to a website and I put in the information. So I honestly don't know without looking at it.
No,
But
that's okay. I'm just
I think
curious.
going off of memory, and memory may or may not be right, so don't quote me on this. I think so they're both the same. I think they're both your Oh, I don't know. I don't even want to say because now I'm like second guessing myself.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. We can, if somebody is super curious, they'll look it up. I
Yeah,
remember
just
reading
Google
about it
it.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
And then
my
you can find a generator for both of them, but they are two different things. So karmic debts are like well, what you think of debt as. Like you come back to repay it from something that you've possibly like needed to repay in a past life. And then karmic lessons are more so like lessons that you're learning for the first time in this lifetime.
Yeah, people probably like to know that information because I'm sure that they've either already gone through it or it's like they're going through it now or something that's happened or something that may happen later. Not that you want to be like freaking out about these things either. It's just
Yeah.
probably more of a, what do you want to say? Like a tool
Yeah.
just for their awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do think that they're definitely like your biggest growth opportunities. So, like, if you know why it is that you're on this certain path with something that you're struggling with. So, like, for me, with my Chiron being in my second house, that's also the house of money. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a lot of money wounding and whatnot, but like knowing this and like looking at like my past and some things that happened and whatever, it's easier to just be like, okay, wait, that was a lesson and something that I'm meant to grow from. And it's not like because you have these placements or karmas or Chiron, whatever, it's not like you can't grow from it and get to the other side of it. Like it's literally your biggest growth opportunity. So I think that you kind of signed up to have these because you're meant to get to the other side of them.
Oh my gosh, for sure. That is a beautiful way to look at it. And it's stepping more into like that creator mindset as opposed to the victim mindset of like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me again? And it's like, girl, you're supposed to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, the other thing I wanted to ask you, let's dive into like the business aspect of it too. Knowing that there may be some people that, have started their own business or maybe wanting to do that and feeling an urge to. I feel like if you are wanting to do it and it's something that keeps popping up for you, it's definitely something you should look into.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, elaborate on that. Maybe what placements are like, yeah, what things are you finding in regards to like the business?
Yeah, so I already touched on this earlier, but for business, your midhaven is going to have a lot to do with your business. So, like I said, my midhaven's in Pisces, and that has a lot to do with like the arts and also
Mm-hmm.
teaching and
Mystical.
spirituality. Yeah. So, like I said before, my photography was aligned, but it wasn't fully aligned because it didn't touch on spirituality, or I could have made it touch on it like somehow, like some weird roundabout way. I'm sure I could have tied it in if I wanted to, but I didn't want to, or it didn't have like teaching in it until the very end, and then I pivoted anyway. So you can look into your mood, into your midhaven. What is your midhaven? I know I like have your
Virgo.
info, but okay, yeah. So I feel like that's, I don't, as far as like jobs and stuff, like probably something very organized you'd want to look at, something that's, whenever I think of Virgo, I just think of like perfection.
Spreadsheets.
But I can say that because I'm a Virgo. So,
I know, right? And oh my gosh, I totally feel that in my business. Like, because I basically have kind of like you, I'm still doing like real estate, but then I'm
mhm.
also doing this as well. And yeah, I have to have like, I've got spreadsheets and I've got everything in my Google Calendar just to like keep track of everything and really, yeah, utilize that Virgo for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then I also use for business like your North Node, which is your life purpose according to astrology. So that's, I think, the same thing that I said earlier with like if you know your purpose and you can tie it into your business, I feel like the universe can't help but reward you if you're in alignment. So that, and then also your life purpose according to human design is your incarnation cross or your soul purpose. So those are all really helpful. Also, I feel like in order to like have a business that's actually in alignment, you have to be emotionally fulfilled and it has to meet those needs. So your moon sign, I think, is huge there too.
How would one look at their moon sign? And yeah, like, are they wanting to align with some of the characteristics of, the zodiac, wherever their moon sign is in, to feel maybe more balance in that
Yeah.
area?
So in business, I feel like I align with my moon sign way more than my sun sign. Like, yes, I need the structure, but like what makes me happy is freedom, travel, adventure, like having the ability to do whatever I want to do. So like if I didn't have that, if I just kept it like centered around my, sorry, I have a hair in my eye. If I just kept it centered around my sun sign, then it would be like it would take the heart out of my business. Like it really would. Because without that freedom to like pick up and go see something beautiful and be like, oh my gosh, my life is so great. Like I have this adventure and like I just went to Bali, like I have
Hmm.
the ability to do that if I want to, or the ability to like go sit on the couch with my animals if I don't feel like being in the office or like whatever it may be that your freedom is. I feel like your moon sign can kind of tell you that. So what's your moon sign?
Libra.
Libra, and Libra is like balance, aesthetics also. So you probably are
Oh
like a
yeah.
very aesthetic person, I would think, with the Virgo and the Libra too. So if you take like all of the aesthetics out and then okay, so Libra is actually I have a couple of signs that I'm like I get them on a base level, but like I don't know enough Libras in my life to have like a really deep understanding of them, and that's one of the signs. So then also they're known as like the what's the word? It's some like political diplomat. The diplomat?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanting, not liking confrontation.
Okay. Yeah. So then if you take out of your business, because I'm sure you've probably naturally built in some things that like add the balance and the harmony and the diplomacy and the aesthetics, if you take that side out, then chances are for you, my guess would be that it probably would not feel as fulfilling to you. And I feel like that one's hard for me to relate to because I just like I don't know if I understand Libras. I don't have any Libra in my chart,
Girl,
but I
I don't understand Libras sometimes. It's my sun and moon.
okay.
So yeah, it's a weird combo, but then Sag rising over here. I totally get that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think just like you are so much more than your sun sign. I
Yeah.
don't think people realize this. I think more people are talking about like your big three, or is your big six something too? Is that what
Well, I
people
don't
are saying?
know.
Big
If
six?
it if
Or
it
is
is,
it,
it's news to me.
well, because that like sun, moon, rising, and then Mercury, Mars, and Venus. Because those are like the interpersonal kind of planets. And then like, because once you get out, get out this way to like, well, at the end when you have like Pluto and Saturn, like those are more generational type and like collective type of planets because it takes them so long to move through things too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's just so much information. Do you feel like every time you look into stuff for yourself or like have readings done, it's just like you're like digging up like more layers or peeling back more layers too?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of have to pick and choose what it is that you want to focus on because even when it comes to like how to incorporate your astrology into your business, you can see one thing that's like use this for your branding and then another thing that's like use this sign for your branding. And you just kind of like there are multiple different markers and placements that you can use in your business, but you just kind of have to choose what feels right for you. Because if you see something and it's like, okay, use your Libra sun and moon sign for this, and you're like, you know what, I don't feel called to it. Like, ultimately, you have so many more layers of yourself versus just that one sign. And you kind of have to go off of that intuition.
I totally agree. Like, I couldn't agree more. One thing that I think is so important for people to realize, and especially like women in business, is like at the end of the day, you need to trust your intuition because if you're looking at all these outside sources for information, and I did this too when I first started, it's like, oh, I've taken so many different, not so many different, but like different mentorships and readings and things like that. I love learning and I love expanding that way. And at the end of the day, like a few years in, I'm like, okay, this is really more about like how I am most in alignment and actually trusting myself and like just going for it and
Mhm.
trusting that it's all going to work out. I guess, what's the biggest when people have soul contract readings? What's the thing? I know like soul purpose obviously is the thing a lot of people are wanting to know and ask you about, but is there something else that you've noticed with like your clients that comes up a lot that they're either interested or maybe shocked by or
I feel like the self-identity section, sometimes people like they know certain things about themselves, but then to see that it's literally like something that they are meant to have or like meant to use in this lifetime. So like for me, the thing that you mentioned earlier about my life path and also I think you touched on it with my Aquarius North node, but
Mm-hmm.
being in like leadership, I literally used to say I'm a follower, not a leader. Like I said, never wanted to own my own business. Like I very much would not have resonated with parts of my soul contract in the past, like even like 6, 7 years ago. Very much would not have resonated with those. So then it's like if you maybe feel like you have this nudge inside of you, so like starting a podcast. Let's say you maybe have this nudge inside of you to start a podcast, but it's like you've been telling yourself your whole life that you're shy and that you're quiet and you don't have anything to say and whatever else like society and these limiting beliefs have put on you, then when you see something like that in your soul contract, then you're like, wait, that's actually like who I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to step into. And like, I was created for this. And I'm not like all of these limiting beliefs that I have on me. And I'm not delusional for wanting to do this thing that's so outside of my comfort zone. So just like seeing that proof in the identity thing, I think can be really powerful for people and understanding that like they are that person and do have these like good qualities that they thought they might, but haven't had the self worth or confidence to like own yet.
My gosh, yeah, that's really cool because when you're talking about that, I'm kind of almost thinking of like your 20 for I feel like a lot of people, and this is not everyone, like I feel like a lot of the times like your 20s are like your shit show.
Yeah.
And even it's like I will be like, oh my gosh, like I was always interested in astrology, but never dove really any deeper and interested in like all this stuff like once I got into my 30s. And then it's like, what would I have done if I had that information earlier? You know, like if you would have had a soul contract reading earlier. And then sometimes I'm like, I think I would have been like, like
Yep.
doesn't
I think
resonate. I don't know.
I think that you kind of have to be like ready for it, which is the same thing with me and the like nurturing side of my soul contract. Cause like I know that it's probably more in alignment for me to like go out of my way and maybe like take care of my husband a little bit and like cook dinners way more than I cook dinners. But do I want to do it right now? Not really.
You're like,
Maybe later. We'll
yeah.
get
And
there.
yeah, exactly. And it's a journey, not we're gonna do this and like, okay, I have my soul contract reading. And so now I have to do all these things.
Yeah.
It's not that at all. Because how long ago, I guess how long was it when you first like learned about your personal soul contract? And then like, yeah, how has your life kind of adjusted knowing that information?
Yeah, so since I started layering all of them together, the astrology, the numerology, and the human design, it's only been like 6 months. So I had these like little glimpses, kind of like these little breadcrumbs that were walking me down that path or like seeing different pieces of it. But then it was like when I started putting them all together, it was like, oh my God, wait, like all together, this really hits home because I don't feel fully seen by one of the pieces by itself. But when you start layering them together, then it's like, wait, no, this is me. Like, this is who I am and like who I'm meant to be. So, really, just like 6 months since I started doing all of it combined.
It's not too long ago, but
No.
and you've had the chance to do some for clients, and do you have
Mhm.
any, I guess, has there ever been something that you saw that you were kind of, I guess you yourself were like shocked about or just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so one for me would be like my own like money wounding thing, which was just like very validating about like because there was a point when I first started my business where like my photography business where I literally like had my car almost repossessed and like didn't know how I was going to pay my bills and just like I come from a family that is amazing, but we've never been like well off.
Hmm.
So just to like see that in there was really eye-opening and also know that that means that like I can get to the other side of it and have obviously built a successful photography business and been very fortunate there. And then in other people's contracts, like I feel like you can kind of pick up on some common life themes. So, like, I had one in particular, and I don't want to get like too deep into it because I only do soul contracts in my program, and I only have
Mm-hmm.
a handful of women that I've done them for. So I don't want to like give away anything specific, but you can kind of get common themes throughout people's lives, whether like they maybe weren't validated or like listened to as a child, or if they have like some people you can just see like family things come through a lot more or like childhood wounding, and others it kind of skims over it. So I feel like that would be a big like, ooh, okay. Like I feel like I'm kind of like getting a little deep now, but obviously you don't want to just skim the surface like if you have the information.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And you want to, like, knowing that stuff, as you said earlier, is just like gonna help you grow.
Mhm.
And it's good to know, like, the shadow side of things. And we can't always be like high vibe and all of that around here. It's like you need to know where you have come from and how you can grow and like use that to help other people too. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Because just like you sharing your story on your podcast and like other coming on other people's podcasts, like people are going to relate to you, and that would have never happened if you never started your podcast,
Yeah. Yeah, for
which
sure.
is so cool. So I do want to ask you if you have anything exciting going on in business and like new offers or yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind when you say that is I'm currently in the works of building a community for women. So I've always felt like kind of like I don't know, like I just don't fully fit in with people. So I know a lot of women can relate to this. And the reason that I decided to like move forward with this is because I've been hearing it so much. It's something that like comes into your radar and then you just keep hearing it from all different directions. So it's like you have this realization that maybe like you never quite fit in with your friends or whatever, even though I have an amazing community. I just always felt like a little different. And then you hear it from other people, like on TikTok or in the group that we're in, one of the girls said it. And it's like, wait, I think this is something that I meant to pay attention to because I think that it's something that people could use a community around and something that people could use more guidance to like get to the other side of, instead of making themselves small and like making themselves blend in, just owning their uniqueness and not being scared to like get out there and be who they are and like own their purpose and their mission and whatnot in this lifetime. So I'm starting, but I'm not like fully started yet, a community for women who can identify with that, who are also in business, to help them not see themselves as like this odd man out and to like choose themselves and build that community for themselves. Because I think part of the whole problem with that is that you're like allowing yourself to be the victim there instead of choosing to just like own who you are and show up fully. So it's called the Girls Club. And I'm ironing out the details and whatnot, but that's something that's like in the works, and I'll probably try to launch it at the end of this year. So it's still a little ways out, but that's kind of like my exciting big thing. And then aside from that, I'm just working with I have my students in my program Rooted, and I'm doing one-on-one coaching with them. And we're finishing up the like final module of the digital program portion over the next couple of weeks for them. So they are my main focus. And the
Yeah.
wedding season is starting too.
Yeah, girl, you were busy. I love that you're bringing a sense of community because I myself, felt so alone. And it's like you didn't know who to talk to about it, especially in real life. I
Mhm.
think a lot of the things too is like people are like, I don't have anyone in my real life to talk to this stuff about. So finally, like finding your tribe or your community of women online is like so, it just is amazing and it helps with everything so much. So that's going to be so awesome. So people will just need to follow you on Instagram and follow along for that and definitely join whenever you launch.
Yeah.
And I want you to explain Rooted a little bit.
Yeah, so rooted is all about like soul identity. So we're really getting to the foundation of your business before we're building a business. So in rooted, it is a 10-week digital program, and that is where I do soul contracts. So soul contracts happen in module 4, but we're doing your like you're figuring out your own soul identity and like who you think you are, what you think you're here to do, all of that stuff on your own before I try to tell you who you are. And what's been really fun with seeing these girls, their progression that I'm coaching through right now, and like talking to them and asking them these things, is they're literally telling me things that are in their soul contract without knowing that they're in their soul contract. So they're like telling me, oh, I'm really good at this, or at like guiding, one of my students is guiding other women through coaching of some form, and she's telling me like these strengths, and I'm like, these are literally in your soul contract, like as your strengths. So like you know who you are and you know what's in there, but you just don't always have that validation to like go full force until you have the confirmation that like, yeah, that's what you're meant to do. So we're getting really clear on who you are. We're clearing out like some baggage, some clutter, some like limiting beliefs, and helping you to fully step into that higher version of you. And
Hmm.
then I'm also in module 3, it's called Awaken, and I'm like really kind of waking you up to like the universe doesn't necessarily operate the way that you think it operates, and there's probably a lot more going on behind the scenes than you realize. Then like I said, module 4 is soul contracts, where I just deliver soul contracts, and then we talk about integrating and how to actually take what you learned and what you discovered about yourself and apply it into your life and your business.
Oh, that is so cool. I wish you had that like 3 years ago and I would have done that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
for sure.
love I love how that like that is so beneficial. If anyone like listening thinks that would be awesome, like I think it would be awesome because, having people kind of trying to figure it out themselves first and then you
Mhm.
just like validating or maybe telling them something they were maybe thinking or something they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize that." Like that's cool. I haven't heard like a program kind of run that way, and I think that's
Yeah.
really neat.
Well, I think that a lot of us build businesses based around like what we're told we're supposed to do or the way that everyone
Yeah.
else in the industry is doing it, and we're not building it around like our own blueprint. And if you just get into like purely, there is business strategy in here, but if you just purely get into business strategy right away, you're leaving out what it is that's going to like make the universe say like she's in alignment, she's doing what she said she's going to do, and let's give her her soulmate clients because now she can
Hmm.
help them. So do you want me to read you your soul mission and purpose from your soul contract?
Sure.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, because we
yeah.
obviously
Like, yeah.
we exchanged information before, so I had all of your like birth info, and then I just kind of like put this into a doc. So I am just gonna like read straight from here and give you yours. Okay, so soul mission and purpose. It says, and you'll have to let me know what you resonate with and what you
I
don't.
will.
Also,
Oh my
okay.
gosh, yeah.
So, you are here to bring truth, lightness, and forward momentum into the world by being unapologetically you. So, at your core, you're here to inspire through your presence, perspective, and your passion. With your North Node in Sagittarius in the first house, your purpose is deeply tied to becoming a bold, independent thinker and truth seeker. You are not here to play small, follow trends, or get lost in other people's ideas of who you should be. You're here to step into leadership that's guided by wisdom, curiosity, and the pursuit of deeper meaning. So you're meant to live freely, embody your truth, and be a living example of what it means to trust your inner compass. You're not meant to just talk about personal growth. You are meant to be the embodiment of it, which I thought was really cool because obviously, like, you're gonna, like, I mean, your podcast is aligned. So
Aligned.
so I feel like just that it picked up on like personal growth because I didn't like say anything about you. It's like purely just from your placements that this is coming
Yeah.
up. So then your human design incarnation crosses the right angle cross of service, and it tells us that your soul came here to improve the world through clear vision and grounded energy. You see what's not working, and you're here to spark a positive change through that. So, your service to others comes from your ability to see what could be and to help people get there. So, you have like the gift of seeing what the possibilities are and then being able to guide people to the possibilities instead of just like, okay, it's that way, go do it on your own. So,
Yeah.
then you're a life path 3, which I'm sure you already knew.
Yeah.
And your path is about creative expression, joy, and communication. So you were born to use your voice, whether through writing, speaking, creating, or simply showing up as yourself. You're meant to uplift, entertain, and inspire. or sorry, not expire. That's awful.
Expire.
Please don't.
I'll try
No,
not
no,
to
no.
anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. And then your deeper why, it says to empower others through your own freedom, to model what it looks like to live with joy, speak your truth, and keep growing, and to help people lighten up, open up, and wake up.
I totally okay, yeah. Like 10, maybe 5, 10 years ago, I've been like, but like now after, having a spiritual awakening and kind of really getting just more comfortable in like who I am, the freaking North Node in the first house is fucking heavy because it's really like, it's all about you and it's all about like, like I'm still peeling layers back. It's something I think that's obviously going to take years and years, but I came from, a normal kind of childhood and family. And then I think a lot of the stuff I was always asking advice from other people, like things I was doing and just kind of doing. And I was numbing a lot through like drinking and just not really, I don't know, doing anything productive.
Yeah.
But hence 20s, like hearing you say those things now, like I resonate with all of it so much. And it's just really cool. And I feel like I have felt that, abundance come from the universe being on that path. I feel less resistant this way too
Mm-hmm.
than when I was working my 9 to 5 and like, ugh, but it just, yeah, it goes to show, like, I think we're both good examples of like when you start to pivot that way, it's really cool how like doors open up and there's like endless opportunities
Mm-hmm.
and different
Yeah.
timelines. And like you always have like the choice to do what you want to do. But I'm not saying you have to choose to do what your soul wants to do in this lifetime, but I'm saying if you go down that path, yeah, you are in more alignment and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
information is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, fun fact, when we were just in Bali, we went to see a Balinese healer, and I gave my friend a soul contract like 2 days before we went to see him, because then we flew out and then went there the first full day. And in it, it said her purpose and whatnot. And we get there, and he does like the whole reading on her and then asks if she has any questions. And she goes, "What is my soul purpose?" And in my mind, I'm like, I just told you your soul purpose. Like, what do you mean what's your soul purpose? And he answered what was in her soul contract for her
Oh
soul
my
purpose.
gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, validation. Like, I already knew that just based on like everything that I'd seen that they were spot on, but it just was so cool to like hear him say the same thing that was in her soul contract. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, the validation is good for us too. That helps us gain confidence as like business owners and like out here helping people. And that's so cool. That's so cool that you did that in Bali.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
Like, how fun. Well, thank you so much for hanging out today. And is there any last words of wisdom or any parting words you would like the audience to know?
Yeah. So my final words of wisdom are really just going to be to anchor in that, like, you are probably being guided towards where you're meant to go. Don't take life too seriously. Like, literally just enjoy the human experience, do the very best that you can, and like take breaks when you need it, because we all need a little bit of slow time too. But you're probably being guided where you're meant to go, even if you feel like you're off track. Just like trust your gut and trust your intuition and trust your path, and don't be too hard on yourself.
Everyone, yeah. Everyone needs to hear that multiple times a day, I think, sometimes. But those are
Play it on
wonderful.
repeat.
Yeah, put it on repeat. Just listen to that piece of the podcast on repeat. Again, Bree, thank you so much. And I will have all your contact information in the show notes so people can reach out to you if they feel called to work with you. I think Rooted sounds really freaking cool. So hopefully maybe you'll find some soul aligned clients in the podcast. So yeah,
Awesome.
woohoo. Well, we will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for listening.